Ancient humans began their earliest communication in the silence of the wild. At night, when the flames of fire cracked and danced, they sat in circles. Around this glowing center, they lifted their hands, moved fingers, and pointed toward unseen dangers. Fire gave them warmth, but gestures gave them survival. Their faces were not playful but serious, as if each movement carried the weight of life and death. To them, a single motion of the hand could mean safety, and a wrong sign could mean disaster. Hands were their first language. Ancient humans discovered that fingers could point toward the sky to show birds, or form the shape of an animal to warn hunters. These were not just random motions, they were the alphabets of survival. Imagine a single raised arm meaning danger, or two hands spread wide showing the presence of a great beast. In their silent world, every hand was a voice, and every gesture was a story waiting to be understood. In the tall grass, when the tribe hunted, silence ruled. Words could scare prey, but signs spoke in whispers. A clenched fist meant wait, two fingers flashing meant attack, and a wave meant move forward. Ancient hunters looked into each other's eyes, their expressions sharp and full of determination. These signals were born out of necessity, but they became the earliest codes of strategy, teamwork, and trust. Survival depended not only on the hunters, but also on the next generation. At the cave entrance, in the glow of the fire, mothers and fathers taught their children the secret gestures. A child's small hand was guided to copy the sign for danger, food, or safety. The lessons were serious, filled with patience and gravity. These teachings were not only about today's survival, but about passing on the tribe's wisdom to tomorrow. Thus began the first form of education. Over time, gestures alone were not enough. Ancient humans discovered sound. One cried, another grunted, a third hummed a deep tone. These attempts were clumsy but powerful. Each grunt carried urgency, each cry carried emotion. Slowly, sound joined gesture. They realized that voices could travel where hands could not be seen. This was the start of something greater, a bridge between silence and speech. The face of an ancient human was a mirror of survival. A frown told of danger, a sudden widening of eyes warned of predators, and a smile meant safety had been found. These emotions were raw, unfiltered, and deeply understood by the tribe. Even without gestures, a trembling lip or a fearful stare could save lives. The seriousness of their faces became a language that spoke louder than words. From gestures and sounds came rhythm. Ancient humans began clapping their hands, humming together, and repeating patterns of sound. What began as signals slowly became the earliest music. These beats lifted spirits, gave courage, and united the tribe in dangerous times. Even as they sang or clapped, their faces carried seriousness. The understanding that rhythm was not only celebration, but survival, bonding, and identity. Then came symbols. With sharp stones, they carved lines and shapes into cave walls. These were not mere pictures, but attempts to record thought, memory, and meaning. An animal carved on the wall spoke of a hunt. A handprint meant, "I was here." Every mark was serious, deliberate, and filled with purpose. This was the beginning of writing, born not from ink and paper, but from stone and survival. The caves became books of stone. Ancient humans painted animals, battles, and rituals across the walls. They used red from blood, black from ashes, and yellow from earth. Each scene told a story: hunters chasing prey, families gathering, spirits watching from the dark. These cave paintings were voices frozen in time, carrying messages from one generation to the next. They were the first chapters of human history. As time passed, elders became storytellers. Around the fire, they stood tall, using gestures and dramatic expressions to act out hunts, dangers, and victories. Their voices echoed through the cave, deep and commanding. Children watched with wide eyes, learning not only survival but also imagination. These stories were lessons, warnings, and memories, carried forward through the art of performance. Communication was not always serious. Ancient humans laughed, joked, and played with gestures. They made funny faces, shared signs that only their tribe understood, and created sounds of joy. Yet, beneath the laughter was the same seriousness, the knowledge that togetherness was strength. Their games built unity, their laughter healed fear, and their bonds became unbreakable. To survive, ancient humans listened to nature. They copied bird calls to signal food, growled like predators to scare enemies, and howled like wolves to unite their tribe. These imitations were powerful tools. They were not only tricks for survival, but also the beginning of language shaped by the world around them. Nature itself became their teacher, and the tribe spoke with the voice of the earth. As tribes grew, they began to trade. One gave food, another offered tools. A nod, a grunt, or a gesture became a contract. Trust was built not by written laws, but by eye contact and serious agreement. These small exchanges were the roots of economy, showing that communication could create not only survival, but cooperation and prosperity. From communication came leadership. Shamans, elders, and wise hunters stood above the tribe. With powerful gestures and commanding voices, they guided decisions, shared visions, and kept unity. Their authority was not forced, but earned through the respect of their words and actions. These were the first leaders, born from the strength of communication. At last, gestures and sounds merged. A movement of the hand came with a grunt, a nod with a spoken noise. Slowly, patterns formed, short sounds tied to actions, repeated and remembered. It was clumsy, but it was powerful. The tribe had unlocked the doorway to speech. This merging of gesture and sound was one of the greatest steps in human history. Under the wide night sky, lit by fire and stars, ancient humans spoke their first words. Broken, raw, but filled with meaning. They pointed to the heavens, named the creatures of the earth, and whispered sounds that carried wonder. From gestures to paintings, from grunts to language, the journey of communication shaped humanity. Serious, sacred, and timeless. This was the birth of the human voice.